without a trauma or kind of completely. I mean, there is plenty issues with it. Good run. Let's keep it up. Let's get back out there. Get some more of that yellow stuff.
Since the 1800s, gold mining has become one of the world's most lucrative businesses. The Discovery Channel's Gold Rush Alaska captures the intrigue and mystery in the field, following families as they navigate the challenges of gold mining. Recently, one of the show's stars, Tony Beets, made a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that could hold the key to the richest finds in mining history. However, this secret treasure raises questions. What is its origin and why was it abandoned? Join us as we uncover the thrilling story behind this unexpected gold-filled discovery at Nugget Creek, the Gold Rush TV series. Before diving into what Tony Beets discovered and why it's such a big deal, let's first get some context, especially for those who might not know much about the mining world or its well-known figures. The story begins with a TV show that introduced Tony Beets to the world, Gold Rush. This reality TV show, which first aired on December 3rd, 2010, has captured the attention of audiences for years. It follows a lively group of miners, including Rick Ness, Parker Schnabel, Tony Beets, and Fred Lewis, who joined in its 12th season. The show, narrated by Paul Christie in the US and Dean Lennox Kelly and Sean Dooley in the UK, quickly became a favorite in the world of reality television. Made in the United States and presented in English, Gold Rush has been running strong for 15 seasons, with a total of 367 episodes. Christo Doyle, the executive producer, has been credited with playing a major role in its success. Over the years, filming has taken place in several locations, with the Klondike in Yukon, Canada, and parts of Alaska, United States, being among the most prominent spots, particularly during the 12th season. Each episode lasts about 60 minutes, giving viewers a close-up view of the challenges and victories of gold mining. Produced by Raw TV, Gold Rush continues to entertain with its exciting look into the mining world and the personal journeys of the miners chasing their dreams of striking gold. In the first season, the show went by the title Gold Rush Alaska and focused on 6 men from Sandy, Oregon, a small town located about 30 miles southeast of Portland. These men had been hit hard by the economic downturn and found themselves out of work. Facing tough times, they took a huge gamble and headed to Porcupine Creek, Alaska, to search for gold. Most of them didn't have much experience with placer gold mining and had to figure things out as they went along. The season was full of challenges. Equipment kept breaking down, and the crew's lack of mining skills made things even harder. At first, they planned to strip mine an area near Porcupine Creek, but those plans quickly changed when Jack Hoffman started looking for an old waterfall he believed could hold a lot of gold nuggets. About halfway through the season, things shifted again. The claim owner, Earl Foster, sent in Dakota Fred, a seasoned miner, to try to make the operation run more smoothly. Even with some last-minute efforts, the crew struggled to find a rhythm and couldn't cover their costs. By the time the season wrapped up, the Hoffman crew had managed to recover just under 15 ounces of gold. In the second season, the show was renamed to just Gold Rush. During this time, Todd missed a lease payment for the claim at Porcupine Creek. Because of that, the claim owner, Earl Foster, sold it to Dakota Fred Hurt, who wasn't required to honor the previous lease due to the missed payment. The season followed several mining operations. The Hoffman crew moved to a new site at Quartz Creek in the Klondike region near Dawson City, Yukon, Canada. Meanwhile, Dakota Fred took over the original Hoffman mine at Porcupine Creek and began focusing on expanding the area. Parker Schnabel was also introduced as he tried his hand at mining on his grandfather's property, Big Nugget Mine. At Porcupine Creek, Dakota Fred made some big changes. All the equipment left behind by the Hoffman crew was removed. He decided to use a different setup called a D-Rocker which he believed could process dirt more efficiently than what the Hoffmans had done the previous season. This season became especially important because it marked the introduction of a key figure in the series. But more on that later. The third season kicked off in October of 2012. The Hoffman crew headed back to the Klondike to mine their Quartz Creek site once more. This time, they added more workers so they could handle a second site in the area at the same time. But things didn't go as planned. Equipment problems and delays slowed them down, leading to a decision to join forces with Dave Turin's team at Indian River. Parker Schnabel returned to his grandfather's Big Nugget mine, this time with bigger and more efficient equipment. Meanwhile, Dakota Fred Hurt and his team went back to Porcupine Creek to continue their work there. The season saw some impressive results. Dave Turin's crew ended up mining 803 ounces of gold, which earned them over $1.2 million. Interestingly, this total was just 3 ounces more than what Dave had estimated during the Season 2 after show when asked by the executive producer. Parker and Dakota Fred also had a successful run, recovering 192 ounces and 163 ounces, respectively, with each haul worth over $250,000. Compared to the first season, where no team managed to recover more than 50 ounces of gold, this season was a major step forward. Having been renewed for a fourth season, Gold Rush began in August of 2013 with a special preseason episode titled The Dirt. This episode featured interviews with all the teams from the previous season, giving fans a behind-the-scenes look at their experiences. The main season, however, premiered later on October 25th. Later, a spin-off titled Gold Rush Guyana South America followed the Hoffman crew as they took on a new challenge in South America. Parker Schnabel leased fresh ground at Scribner Creek in Dawson City, guided by his mentor, Tony Beets. Meanwhile, Dakota Fred Hurt and his son Dustin focused their efforts on Cahoon Creek, a rugged, post-glacial site that had only been mined with pickaxes back in the late 1800s. The Hoffman crew struggled significantly. Their operation in Guyana yielded barely 2 ounces of gold and only $1,350 worth of diamonds. This poor performance forced them to abandon the project. In contrast, the Dakota boys mined 280 ounces of gold, while Parker and his team had an extraordinary season, recovering 836 ounces. Parker's success didn't stop there. After the season officially ended, he continued mining alongside Rick Ness, adding another 193 ounces to his haul. By the end, Parker had mined a staggering 1,029 ounces, earning over $1.4 million. This not only shattered Todd Hoffman's single-season record of 803 ounces, but also surpassed Hoffman's total gold recovery across all 4 seasons combined. By now, the show had become hugely popular, growing even stronger with each season. The Gold Rush TV show during the pandemic. Gold Rush continued following its usual release pattern for 6 more seasons, but things changed dramatically by season 11 due to the COVID-19 pandemic,
The World Health Organization is declaring the coronavirus a pandemic,
which disrupted the 2020 mining season. While miners were classified as essential workers by the Yukon government, the same didn't apply to the film crews. At the start of the season, Canada's travel restrictions left the production team from Raw TV stuck in Britain. When mining began, only one filming crew member was present with the Beets family. Monica Beets had to take on additional filming responsibilities herself. Neither Parker Schnabel nor Rick Ness and their teams were on site initially since they were quarantining at home, mostly in the United States. As the season progressed, Parker managed to cross the border from Alaska into Canada, completing a 2-week quarantine in Whitehorse, Yukon. The Beets family also quarantined for 2 weeks at their mine site, locking it down for the rest of the season. After their isolation period, a local film crew of 4 arrived to document their work. Rick Ness took extra precautions, traveling from Wisconsin to the Yukon with an extended fuel tank in his truck to avoid making contact with others on the road. A new team, led by Special Forces medic Fred Lewis, joined the show during this season. The 11th season premiered on October 23, 2020. Gold Rush Season 12 premiered on Friday, September 24, 2021, kicking off with the episode Ground War on the Discovery Channel. This season followed the mining crews of Parker Schnabel, Tony Beets, Rick Ness, and Fred Lewis. Toward the end, Fred Lewis teamed up with the neighboring Clayton brothers, adding a new dynamic to the story. The 13th season began on Friday, September 30th, 2022, with the episode A Seismic Shift. It continued to feature Parker Schnabel, who worked sites in both Alaska and the Yukon, along with Tony Beets, Fred Lewis, and the Clayton brothers. This season also included guest appearances from Dave Turin as he retired from mining. Rick Ness, however, decided not to mine that season and appeared only briefly at the start to explain his absence. Then, Season 14 launched on Friday, September 29th, 2023, with the episode The $160 Million Gamble. The focus remained on Parker Schnabel, Tony Beets, Rick Ness, and a new crew, the McCorns. Now in Season 15, which premiered on Friday, November 8th, 2024, with Greed is Good, the show continues to showcase the mining operations of its core cast on Discovery Channel. Among all the miners who have been part of the show over the years, one person has stood out. Known for his no-nonsense attitude and often unconventional methods, he captured the audience's attention in a way few others did. But who was this standout figure, and what made him so memorable? Background of Tony Beets. Tony Beets grew up on a small farm in Weidens, a quiet town in the Netherlands. Before moving to Dawson City in 1984, he supported himself by milking cows. Starting from these modest beginnings as a machine operator, Tony worked his way up to become one of the most successful gold miners in the Klondike. Tony's family plays a big role in his success. His wife, Minnie, and their children, whose names are Monica, Kevin, Michael, and Bianca, all pitch in to help run the family business. Now, after spending decades in the gold mining industry, Tony is counting on his kids to keep the family's gold mining legacy alive for many years to come. On Gold Rush, Tony stands out not just for his mining expertise, but also for his fiery personality and colorful language. According to Discovery's official bio, Tony first appeared in Season 2 when he offered advice to Todd Hoffman on improving his mining operation. By Season 4, Tony was back on the show, leasing land to a young Parker Schnabel, who he later became a mentor to. His no-nonsense approach and larger-than-life character have made him one of the most memorable figures on the show. Take his feud with Parker Schnabel, which is one of the more intense highlights on Gold Rush. The two first crossed paths during the filming of Season 4. At first, they got along well. Tony even mentored Parker when he took over Big Nugget Mine. However, things took a turn for the worse when Beets leased Parker some land. According to Outsider, Parker struck a deal with Tony to mine on an airstrip that Beets owned, hoping to extract thousands of ounces of gold and make a nice profit. But Parker soon realized that the royalty payment structure Beets had written into the lease agreement didn't quite add up. The harder Parker worked, the less he seemed to earn. This frustrating deal became a hot topic when Parker discussed it during Season 9 of Gold Rush. He said that the royalty rates have to change and explained that after reaching 6,000 ounces, they were required to pay a 25% royalty. This meant that on 8,000 ounces, Tony Beets would get almost $2 million. Parker mentioned that continuing like this would eventually cause him to go broke. The year before, once he hit the 6,000-ounce mark, Parker had decided to stop mining the leased land to avoid giving up all his profits to Tony, something he didn't want to repeat. After a heated conversation, the tension between the two grew. Tony refused to change the terms of the lease, leaving Parker no choice but to get creative. Parker came up with a clever plan. His team started switching wash plants, which are used to process the gold from the dirt and rocks every time they mined 1,500 ounces, then switch back. This trick allowed them to pay royalties only on their net haul rather than the gross amount. When Tony found out, he wasn't happy. Things got even worse when he discovered that Parker was using the leased land to transport gold from his mud hole to his Klondike claim. Mitch Blaschke, the foreman, reportedly said, "This is one small step for us, but this is one giant middle finger to Tony Beets." The celebration quickly came to an end when Tony Beets showed up, turned off Parker Schnabel's machinery, and shut down his wash plant. "All week, you've been sneaking through the yard with rock trucks, and now you're sluicing over here," Tony yelled, visibly upset. "The contract clearly says that while you're leasing from us, you can only sluice the material from this land." Parker responded by accusing Tony of being too greedy. After that moment, the two were never seen together again, Tony Beets and his dredges. With gold prices reaching record highs,
gold is having a moment. The buying price of gold futures has hit multiple record highs this year.
Tony Beets was determined to meet his goal of 3,000 ounces. But even though he was only a third of the way there, he was on a mission to ramp up production, take advantage of the soaring prices, and outpace his competition. However, his progress was slowed by issues with his main mining equipment, especially his dredges. These huge machines floated on water and sifted through dirt and gravel to find gold. Tony had even called his dredge the most efficient wash plant he'd ever worked with on an episode of Gold Rush. One of Tony's most well-known dredges, the Viking, was a colossal machine weighing over 350 tons. It had been a key part of his mining operation for years. Unfortunately, it caught fire. Though no one was injured in the accident, the damage was significant. The repairs were costly, and Tony had no choice but to pause work on the Viking and focus on other parts of his operation. But that wasn't the end of his dredge troubles. His Clear Creek dredge soon began experiencing serious mechanical issues. At this point, Tony realized he needed to find another way to boost his production. That's when he stumbled upon a discovery that would change everything for him and his crew. Find out what it was next. The discovery of the abandoned trommel. Tony Beets got word about a mobile trommel that had been left behind deep in the forest. Seeing an opportunity to improve his mining season, he decided to invest a huge $400,000 to get it up and running again. For a miner like Tony, spending that much on equipment is nothing out of the ordinary. But it didn't stop there. He also dropped a massive $1.3 million on a brand new bulldozer. This all happened on Gold Rush Winter's Fortune. But when he decided to buy this powerful bulldozer, it wasn't just a show-off move. This wasn't any regular bulldozer. It was a top-of-the-line machine built to handle the roughest terrains and move mountains. For Tony, this purchase wasn't just about owning cool equipment. It was about getting more done efficiently and staying ahead in the game. He's always on the lookout for ways to increase his gold haul, and this bulldozer was the perfect tool to help him conquer the tough Alaskan wilderness. The same idea that led to his purchase of the Trommel also shaped his decision to buy a moving wash plant. This massive 35-ton machine had been designed and built 30 years before by a daring gold miner. It featured a 40-foot drum and ran on wheels, but it had only been used for one season before it was left behind. Recognizing its potential, Tony Beets didn't regret the purchase. When he arrived at the machine's location, he was impressed by its design and could already see how it would outperform his dredges. This trommel was meant to be a versatile machine, designed to take dirt directly from the cut and process it, while sending the waste material in the opposite direction after sluicing. It was made to roll along on 4 huge wheels. After a technician gave it a quick inspection, the machine was given a good chance of still working. To Tony, it had to work, especially after he'd spent so much on it. But there was one major problem. How would they move this huge machine from deep in the jungle and across a river? That was a whole challenge in itself. To make this happen, Tony Beets' team, which included 7 crew members and a huge convoy of equipment, set out to move the Trommel back over 100 miles of mountain roads and dirt tracks. To focus on this task, Tony had to shut down his operation until they returned. When they got to the location, Tony was clear about his plan. The Trommel had to be removed from the creek in just 3 days. He wasted no time, starting with dismantling the Trommel piece by piece. First the conveyor, then the sluice box and hopper, and finally the massive 20-ton drum. After spending 2 days taking apart the first parts of the Trommel, the crew tackled the 20-ton drum on the 3rd day. Tony's plan was simple: retract the hydraulic supports so the drum could rest on its wheels, then lift it and slide the frame out from underneath. However, a steel plate had been welded to one of the Trommel's legs to support the frame and take the pressure off the hydraulics. To remove it, someone had to cut the steel plate. When Kevin cut it, the entire Trommel lost its balance and nearly fell on him. One of the crew members who was working on top also lost his footing and slid into the drum, terrified of being crushed. The crew quickly ran away to observe from a safe distance, even though it was drizzling. Despite the weather, the team managed to load the drum onto a 500-horsepower military tank transporter, along with the other pieces they had disassembled. To make sure the drum was pulled out in time, they needed to reach the highway before nightfall, which they did within 3 hours. After successfully completing the task in record time, Tony congratulated his team on their hard work. By investing in the Trommel, Tony Beets unlocked a treasure trove of productivity and reliability, allowing him to mine more gold and meet his targets. In a way, the Trommel itself turned out to be the real gold, offering incredible benefits that played a key role in his success. Tony Beets faces backlash. While Tony Beets is often praised for being clever and innovative, he's also had his share of criticism and tough moments. One of the biggest controversies happened during the gold rush, when a member of his crew poured gasoline into a dredge pond and set it on fire, all with Tony's approval. What started as a prank quickly turned into a huge wall of flames.
I told you guys come hell on high water, didn't I?
According to CBC, someone saw this stunt on the Discovery Channel and reported the environmental violation to the Yukon's mining inspector. As Yukon News reports, Tony, his company Tamarack Incorporated, and the crew member involved were all charged and fined for violating the Yukon Waters Act by introducing pollutants into controlled waters. Tony admitted to the mistake in an interview with CBC, saying, Since I am the man running the show, I guess I should have been a little more careful and told him not to do it. But I didn't. So here we are in court. Take the fine and don't do it again. To him, it was just a joke gone wrong. For someone possibly worth millions, a fine of $31,000 wasn't much more than a slap on the wrist. But as if that wasn't enough, being such a well-known figure on Gold Rush has brought even more public scrutiny. His strict management style and frequent use of harsh language have made him the target of ridicule among viewers. While this has helped build Tony Beets' tough persona, it's also led to a lot of criticism, with many people saying he's too vulgar to be on a public TV show. To back up these claims, Tony has been especially harsh when dealing with mechanical failures. For example, in one episode, he yelled at his son Kevin after the trommel malfunctioned. His frustration was clear as he stressed how important it was to keep the equipment in good shape to avoid expensive downtime. This incident sparked mixed reactions from viewers, with some criticizing the way he treated his son on live television. As if that wasn't enough, there have been several times when Tony has scolded crew members for mistakes on the job. His high expectations and no-nonsense attitude mean that errors are quickly dealt with, often in a very direct way, which isn't something all crew members appreciate. But Tony wasn't the only one under fire. The show itself had its share of controversies. So, why is that? Let's see. Controversies surrounding Gold Rush TV series. Remember Todd Hoffman, one of the stars of Gold Rush? Well, he's left the show and recently shared an honest and heartfelt update about his future in mining, television, and his faith-driven mission. Now that he's free from his long-standing contract with the Discovery Channel, Hoffman is stepping into new territory. He's working on a new TV series that will combine the raw reality of mining, action-packed moments, and his Christian values. Looking back on his time on Gold Rush, Hoffman admitted that working within the limits of network storytelling wasn't always easy. In Gold Rush, people ask if it's 100% true. No, it isn't, he shared in a Facebook post. There's an element of drama and spice to connect the dots into a story. That's the nature of the beast. Hoffman also took a moment to praise his former castmates. He even reached out to Discovery, asking them to support Rick, who has faced personal struggles, including substance abuse and the recent loss of his mother. I hope Discovery does the right thing and makes sure Rick has been taken care of properly, Hoffman said. He's had substance abuse issues, and those don't just go away. It's a lifelong process, and Discovery has an obligation. Drawing from his experience running a rehab center, Hoffman stressed the need for care and accountability when it comes to those facing personal struggles. His past has shown him how important it is to provide support, especially for people battling issues like substance abuse. Now, Hoffman's eyes are set on a bold new venture, which is a faith-centered mining show, which he's planning through his own production company. The series promises to offer a deeper, more authentic look into the world of gold mining, without the typical exaggeration found in many TV shows. I'm thinking of creating a show that has action and drama, but it will be the real drama that happens, he shared. The gold, the daily decisions, and the costs of mining can all be shown more honestly. Hoffman envisions a unique hybrid project that combines his expertise in mining with his Christian faith, hoping to inspire viewers while also promoting reconciliation. This story will be told by a group of miners in the Yukon. You can't take the gold with you, he said, sharing the deeper spiritual message behind the show. With his wash plant already moved into Dawson City and some partnerships in place, Hoffman is now looking for investors and prayer support for what he calls a kingdom project. While Hoffman recognizes the challenges of going independent, he remains optimistic about the potential impact of his new venture. Streaming platforms are growing huge, he said, hinting that his upcoming show, Mind Boss, might even surpass Gold Rush in popularity. For Hoffman, the mission is clear. I'm going mining either way. Not filming it would be a shame. The unique approach of combining real mining action with Christian values has already caught the attention of some, and Hoffman is eager to connect with potential partners. We pray and trust in the Lord. There will be challenges, but hopefully there will be forgiveness and reconciliation, he shared. As he moves forward with this new project, Hoffman remains grounded in his faith and commitment to transparency. I don't really like fame, he admitted, but I'm open to what the Lord has for me. For those interested in joining his mission, he's open to partnerships and discussions with plans to film and distribute the show worldwide. Regardless of whether the cameras roll, one thing is clear: Todd Hoffman's journey is far from over. Meanwhile, Gold Rush fans have started to voice their frustrations with the more recent seasons of the popular reality show. It seems there's a point where even the most beloved shows can feel a bit repetitive. In contrast, Alaskan bush people had a surge in ratings, partly due to a shift in the show's structure following Billy Brown's death, proving that change can breathe new life into a series. Although Parker Schnabel continues to thrive and Tony Beets remains one of the most successful miners the show has ever seen, the latest seasons of Gold Rush have not been enough to hold the attention of some longtime fans. Fred Lewis, the less experienced member of the group, has added an interesting dynamic with his questionable decisions. Yet, even with all of this, some older viewers have decided it's time to move on. A Reddit thread titled, "I think I'm tapping out after all these years," caught the attention of fans. In the post, the original poster shared that they used to relish their Gold Rush couch surfing time and enjoyed what they called digestible engineering and discovery. However, they went on to explain that this is no longer the case, with the show now feeling dry and boring. The poster also reflected on how the show used to feature huge engineering issues, dredges, plant moves, people with back problems welding all night, and Parker and Tony butting heads. They contrasted that with the latest episode, where someone was simply using a shovel and another was trying to get comfortable while sitting. They wrapped up their post by saying they were bored to death, and many other viewers joined in, expressing similar frustrations. One person agreed, claiming that the production crew must have changed and that they are just lazy. Another fan pointed out that the format feels repetitive. Start the project, run into difficulty and deadlines, then in the last 2 minutes viola, everything works out. One fan pointed out that this season feels off due to the absence of Rick Ness. They argued that Rick was the perfect balance for Tony and Parker, who often work smoothly together, but without him, things feel a bit too easy. According to this fan, Rick's presence added a dynamic that kept the show from becoming too predictable or sucking too much. On the other hand, some fans believe that the slow start to the season could be setting up for something big down the line. In reality, TV, the production team, shoots everything first and then edits it together to create an engaging story. One Reddit user shared their optimism, saying, "I feel Gold Rush is about to turn. They flashed through a lot of stuff fast, and now we are going to get to some interesting bits." This fan also mentioned that Parker is working on setting up a new deal in Alaska, and they hoped Fred would step up and do more than just whine. They also had hopes that the Winchester brothers could get involved in something more exciting. As for Rick Ness, the fan even speculated that he might make a return. Overall, they felt that the show was building up to something significant that could change the pace in the last stretch of episodes. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video.